Hello and welcome to today's Python tutorial. Today we are going to learn about PySimpleGUI, which is basically a Python framework or a package to make apps like this, or graphical user interfaces, GUI. So how does it work? It's a BMI calculator. It gets in your height and your weight and gives you your body mass index. Now, for example, I give it height and wait and press OK, and it says your BMI, okay, this needs to be corrected, your BMI is this and it is normal, it's in green. If I increase the weight to 88, it would be in red and overweight. 48 kilograms, the same height, underweight. And if I press some nonsense here, for example, I don't know, like this, enter valid info, and if I press on cancel, it will go away. Okay. So we are going to make that using less than 30 lines of code, around 27 lines, no object-oriented programming. Now, PySimpleGUI is a great start if you want to learn how to make apps. Now, you can go to the documentation on pysimplegui.org or pysimplegui.readthedocs.io, and down below you will see how to install it. So I got the idea of this BMI calculator here, and if I calculate that, you would see that I get this number between 18.5 and 25 is normal, below that underweight, above that is overweight. And the way they calculate it is here. Let's click on this, and says BMI or body mass index is your person's weight in kilograms divided by the square of height in meters. So it's very simple. Now, if you want to learn PySimpleGUI, a great start would be documentation. Another one is the creator of PySimpleGUI has released this amazing course on Udemy. You can go to Udemy yourself and just look for the official PySimpleGUI course. It has a lot of projects. That's amazing. Okay, back to the documentation now. So we need to install PySimpleGUI first by pip installing PySimpleGUI in our terminal. Once we've done that, I'm just going over this very quickly. We need to import it and give it a alias or a nickname to refer to it later. It's shorter to say SG than PySimpleGUI. This is the first step. This is an optional step to add some colors to it. The second major step is to define the layout. That is, to make layouts in PySimpleGUI, you need a list. Inside the list, for every row on your app, you need one list, like this. For example, this is an sg.text, which puts some text on your window. And this is the text, some text on row 1. Look at this here. Some text on row 1. So this is row 1, row 2, and row 3. Now on row 2, what do we have here? We have another text, comma, sg.input text, an input field, like this. And on the third row, we have two buttons like OK and cancel. You can see OK and cancel. So that was the second major step. Now the third step is to create the window. This has not appeared, the window has not appeared yet. So now creating the window, we can give it a variable name. Then sg.window, give it a title like window title, it appears here, and then the layout that you've defined already. Once you've done that, still you cannot see the window. You need to read the window, window.read. But in order to process the events, that is clicks, if someone clicks on cancel, it should go away. Clicks on OK, something should happen here. In order to process these events, and the values, for example, what the user puts in here, we need to use a while loop. While true is always true, and then get the events and values from the window.read. Here we can say if the event, that is a click, is equal to sg.win_closed, that is this, is basically what it means. If the event is clicking on this, or the event is equal to cancel. What is the cancel? This button. Break out of the loop. And the last step, close the window. Okay, let's try this on our IDE of choice. I'm going to use PyCharm, and here I'm going to go to my terminal and pip install PySimpleGUI first. PySimpleGUI first. Now I've done that, so I go up here now and import it. So import PySimpleGUI, give it a nickname of SG or alias SG. Now, first step, remember, I'm going to mention first layout. Okay, let's create the layout. The layout would be just layout, and it's a list, remember. I want, I don't know, 3 rows, for example. So I can have 3 lists inside that list, like this. Inside the first list, I want to have some text, like sg dot text, and let's say enter your name. That's it. Inside the second row, I can have sg dot input field, so input, and leave it empty. And inside the third row, I can have a button, sg dot button, and the button can be like okay. Okay, that is the basically the second step. So this is the first step, this is the second step. Okay, now the third step. Third is to create a window. So sg dot, window, we need to have variable name. Window equals sg dot window, oops. And we can have a title for it first. Let's say my app, and then the layout. This is annoying. So this window, sg window can have a title here and can have a layout, which we have defined already. But still we cannot see the window. Of course, we need to read it. So, but let's go for the last step. Now for the fifth step, which is closing the window. We say window dot close. Now let's read it here. So if I say window dot read, now if I press on run, I can see this app here. Awesome. Enter your name, input, okay. Whatever I do here, the window will just close because I don't have a way to process that information. So let's also create another button. Actually, let's say sg dot button, and let's call it cancel. Now look, if I do it again, doesn't matter, whatever I click here just goes away, nothing happens. So I need a way to process the information. So for that we go to the fourth step, which is event loop. So we need to create a while loop now. So we say while true, and true is always true. Now we need the events and the values from that window read. So we say event, get the event and the values from window.read. This is a tuple, and these are dictionaries in themselves. We'll see how it works now. So out of this reading, we get these two. Events are basically something like clicks, and values are the information that the user inputs there. Now that we have access to events and values, let's check for some events. That is, if the user clicks on cancel, or if they click on that cross, the window should close. So we say if event is equal to sg dot when closed, that kind of cross thing on top right, or event is equal to cancel, and cancel is the name of the text, the button. So the same thing we use to identify which button we mean. If we mention OK here, then it would be OK. So if that's the case, that the event is that close mark or cancel button, then break. That is, just break out of the loop and go to the next one, which is close the window. But if the event is equal to OK, our button, and look, the spelling should be the same, like uppercase O here, and I've also mentioned uppercase O. But if the event is similar to OK, then something else should happen. Let's say print values, the values that we just got here from our window read. Let's see what values we have and what does it mean. And we want to print it here on the terminal, not on the app. Okay, let's run this now. Now, this is basically close, right? This is this window closed, and this is cancel. So if I press finished. Okay, now if I press on OK, we should get the values, but you don't see anything here, right? So if I press OK, you see I get 0, empty. It means I have something with value, but that's like empty. If I had 2 input fields now, what would happen? So let's say we have 2 input fields, sg dot, this should be a comma here, not a dot. Okay, now let's have 2, and we'll see what happens here now. So again, I have 2, and if I press on OK, you see I get index 0. This is dictionary, so values are like in dictionaries. So this is values dictionary. Values 0 is empty. Values 1 is also empty. Now if I put in something here like GGG, press enter, you see the value of index 0 is GGG, and this one is, and if I press on 1, now you see the value of the first one is GGG, the second one is this. So I can access now these inputs by their index number, but it's not very informative because I need to remember which one is first, which one is the second, right? So for example, here I can print out, let's say 3 things. Oops. I can print the values of index 0 and print values of index 1. What is this? Index 1. Okay, now let's run this and let's see what happens here. Now if I do this, you would see it's empty, 0. Now if I do 1 here and 2 here, 11 and 22, now you can see I have 11, which is the value of index 0, and 22, which is the value of index 1. But this is not a nice way of identifying where the inputs are, because if you have a lot of inputs, you should keep record of the number. So what I can do, I can give him some key to have more informative words, more descriptive. For example, I can give it the key of, let's say, F name, which is the first name, and the key for the second one should be, I don't know, L name for the last name. Now let's see what happens if I run this. So if I go here like Vahid and, I don't know, Jackie, and if I press OK, what happened here? Oh, yeah, I should give him, instead of indexes, actually here, I should mention F name and L name now, because these are now going to be our indices. Now let's run this, and if I Vahid and J, I don't know, and if I press OK, you see I get Vahid, you see F name, Vahid, last name, J. So now we have more descriptive key value pairs in our dictionary. So I can get 2 values at F name to get the first name, and this one for the last name. This is much better now. Okay, so now we know how to get the values. Now let's go here and try to build our BMI calculator. So for the first one, text, let's say enter height in meters. The second one is the input, sg dot input. So we should get the input, and let's give it a key, and the key is going to be h, for example, just for the height. And I'm going to use uppercase surrounded by dashes. It's just a convention to write keys like this. Okay, so I know how to access the key which is responsible for the height. Now, second would be sg.text again, and we're looking for the weight now. So here, let's say weight in kilograms, and the input of the user, of course, and we need to identify it again with a key, and let's say the key is going to be W, like this. So I know how to get the value of the weight as well using this key. Okay, what is the next one? The next one is going to be some buttons. Okay, let's get rid of this. Some buttons like OK and cancel. Okay, I'm going to keep them. And the last one is where I should display the message, like this is your BMI. So another row and list, sg.text. I'm going to leave it empty of any text, but I have to give it a key so that I know where I should put in that information. And I'm going to call it out, like that. So now I know where I need to put the BMI here. This is the place. Okay, now that we have this, so whatever the user inputs in this input with a key of H, I want to grab and also window. But remember, in Python, these input fields, you get them as strings. So whatever the user inputs, even if it's something like 20, that would be treated as a string. So we need to turn it into float data type, that is some kind of number that we can use to calculate. Now let's go down here and let's see. So if the event is okay, if someone clicks on OK, what we need to do is to grab the height. And where was the height? It was in the values with the key of H, right? But it's a string, so I'm going to turn it into a float, which is a number, so that I can use it for some calculations. And what about W, the weight? Again, the weight should be also turned into a float number, and it was in the values with the index of W, right? Okay, spelled correctly, huh? Okay, now that we have the height and values, the formula for BMI was height squared. So that's why I need 2 asterisks and 2 to square this. Okay, now that we have this, let's calculate the BMI. The BMI is going to be weight divided by height squared, which is already squared. So this calculation would give us a number, something like, I don't know, 18 point with a lot of these decimals. I need only 2 of them, so I need to round it. So for rounding it, we use a Python function called round. And for how many decimals? Digits after decimal point? 2. Okay, much better. Now it's time to display the BMI that we got into our text window. So how do I do this now? All right. So we are going to update. What we're going to do is when we get our BMI, we are going to update this field on our window. So we need to grab it out of the window. So here we say window out. This is not a value, right? It's more like a place on the window. And we're going to update it. This is a method we use, not update, but update. We're going to update it with what? With BMI. That's it. So this is how to place things on different parts of the window. You specify that part of the window, which has this key, and you update it with whatever information. And I want to mention something, some text with it as well. So I'm going to use an f string and put this inside curly brackets because it's a value. Your BMI is BMI. That's it. Now let's see what happens. Okay, if I click on this and let's say 180 and 80, your BMI is this. Awesome. So cool. I'm going to drink some coffee. Okay, that's great. It works. It works. Now we have to mention if the BMI is above 25, that's overweight. It's below 18.5 is underweight. So we need some conditionals. Here we can say if BMI is above or greater than or equal to 25, then put some message like your BMI is this, you are